Welcome to Bethlehem Lutheran Church and School.
The adventure began. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29:11. The plans that God had for me were very different from the current path that I was on. In June of 2014, I accepted a call to Bethlehem Lutheran Church and School in Lakewood, Colorado. They were looking for someone to lead and grow their early learning center. I have a heart and a passion for preschools, and growing programs excites me. So we packed up the house, our 7 pets, minus 3 that stayed behind, my 2 kids, and off to Colorado we went to start our new adventure. New state, new school, new team. So what did I do? I arrived at Bethlehem Lutheran School just 2 weeks before the school year was about to begin. I had very little time to get to know my staff and for them to get to know me. So what did I do? Well, we had monthly meetings, which was our regular staff meeting time, but didn't allow a lot of time to build that one-on-one important relationship that is so needed in an organization. So one thing we did was we had monthly meetings, which we called M&M meetings. And yes, M&Ms were definitely provided. Our M&M meetings were a time where I met one-on-one with each staff member. We were able to talk about joys, we were able to talk about concerns, as well as get to know one another a little bit better. It built trust and it built relationships. And we enjoyed some M&Ms as well. It was also a time where I was able to pray one-on-one with my staff. So important to build that trust and to build relationships when coming into an existing program. It was the best thing I could have done this year to grow closer to my staff. The second thing that I did and learned from was that there is value in not making immediate changes to an organization just because there were things that had worked for me in the past in my previous preschool programs. There were a number of programs here at Bethlehem that I was very skeptical about, but I had to give them a chance and see for myself if these programs worked or if they would need to be modified or even eliminated. I was pleasantly surprised by many things that I initially thought would not work. But after letting the programs and seeing how they worked, I maintained a positive attitude and I trusted my staff to execute these programs. Not only did this help foster an atmosphere of teamwork, but it also helped us to shape our early learning center into the best that it could be. The next thing I did this last year was to make sure that we got Bethlehem Lutheran School out into the community. The first event that we set up a tent and advertised the church and the school at was an event called Cider Days, which is a local event which is held annually here in Lakewood, Colorado. Many families attend this 2-day event, and it was a perfect time to let the people of Lakewood know a little bit more about Bethlehem Lutheran School. We set up an information table. We had a craft for the kids, which was paper hats, which I have to say, we took first place in best craft and activity at the event. Very exciting for us. And we were there to talk to parents and families about Bethlehem Lutheran Church and School. It was a great way to get our name out into the community. We also set up an information table at a local MOPS group, which allowed us to talk to parents one-on-one and let them know about the programs that we offered here at Bethlehem Lutheran School. We continue to work on looking for community events where we can get the word out about Bethlehem Lutheran School and everything that we have to offer. So what did I learn? Coming to Bethlehem Lutheran School was a big learning experience for me as well. I learned that team is your focus and so important to build relationships. So that's what I did. I worked on building relationships. The second thing that I learned was to not come into an organization with my own personal agenda. I didn't need to make changes immediately that I knew worked for me in the past. I needed to take time, check out the program, see what worked for the staff, see what worked for the program, and then together as a team, we made the changes that were necessary. I also learned the importance of evaluating the needs of our church, our school, and our existing families, as well as the community around us. It was time to listen to what the needs were of our existing families as well as the community. We were receiving phone calls weekly asking if we offered a 2-year-old program, which at the time we did not. We had 1 classroom of 3s and 3 classroom of 4-year-olds. We listened to the community. We surveyed our parents. What were the needs of our current families? Did they need care for their 2-year-old? We also talked to our members of our congregation to see what their needs were. Take time to listen, document the need, as well as survey the community. We also looked at programs that were existing in Lakewood area. Did they offer 2-year-old programs? We compared tuition. We looked at the services they provided for their preschool programs, as well as their curriculum. What did we need to do to provide for our community as well as our families? And was it a 2-year-old program? It most certainly was. And last, but definitely not least, I learned the importance of the church and school's leadership team. Our leadership team meets once a week. Not only do we meet weekly, but we also meet quarterly off campus, and that also includes an overnight retreat. Our leadership team is the core of Bethlehem Lutheran Church and School. We make decisions and work together as a team to provide the best program within the church and the school here at Bethlehem. It's important to build trust and a relationship within that team as well. Our leadership team makes intentional decisions for the health and the benefit of Bethlehem Lutheran Church and School. Without this team, we would not succeed as much as we do.
Growing the program. When I interviewed for the job here at Bethlehem Lutheran Church and School, the one thing that really excited me was the fact that they wanted to grow their program and to take it to the next level. And I love to grow programs and preschools. So what did I do to grow our program? The first thing we needed to do was evaluate our existing program. We had 1 3-year-old classroom and 3 4-year-old classrooms that were not yet full when we started the program in August. Come October, November, most of our classrooms were full with a waiting list. And it was apparent that we needed another classroom. I also arrived during a building project that ended in December, which allowed us to have another classroom. We needed to evaluate the community, our current families, as well as our congregation members to see what the needs were. And it was very apparent that a 2-year-old program would be very much needed here at Bethlehem Lutheran Church and School. Before we started working on creating our 2-year-old classroom, there were a lot of things that needed to be done. We needed to prep a classroom, get the word out to our families and to the community that we were going to be offering a program for 2-year-olds. And the biggest way to do that, and the best way to do that, is to inform your families. They are your #1 seller of your program. So we let our families know. And a month and a half prior to opening our 2-year-old classroom, we had a waiting list, and the class was full. Very exciting time for Bethlehem Lutheran Church and School. Another way that helped grow our program was changing our Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule and Tuesday, Thursday typical schedules to a very flexible schedule that was more usable for our families. Our families needed flexible scheduling, and that's exactly what we did. We allowed our families to pick the days that they needed, not the days that were convenient for us. And our program filled up immediately, allowing families to pick the days that they needed. When I arrived at Bethlehem Lutheran Church and School in August, we had 86 students registered for the school year. By February 2015, we had 124 students in our program. Very, very exciting. We were full. We had waiting lists in most of our classrooms. So how do we continue the growth? How do we continue to expand? I know they're not ready for another building project, but I am already asking for another classroom. It's exciting to have the energy and the desire to build our program. My next goal is to get another classroom and to continue to build our program for kids just like this, so that we can provide for our families here in Lakewood, Colorado.
Allowed to throw rocks, but Brady just threw rocks at me when I was on the Minecraft.
Did you go talk to him about it? Why don't you go talk to him about it? Remind him that rocks stay where? I am excited to be part of such a wonderful program here at Bethlehem Lutheran Church and School, where we can provide not only for our families here in Lakewood, Colorado, but we can share with them the amazing love that God has for each and every one of us, the unconditional love that He has for us. What a great thing to offer our families and to each little kiddo here in our program.